The single origin theory presented by the single ladies, Aaliyah, Alexis, Chloe, Meghann, and Ashley.
The alternative single origin hypothesis, single origin theory, proposes that modern human appeared in Africa at some time within the last 500,000 years. 200 to 300,000 years is a favored figure. They left Africa and spread widely throughout the world, evolving into Homo sapiens without any detectable admixture. After the evolution of modern humans in Africa, a second expansion occurred out of Africa about 100,000 years ago that resulted in the global replacement and genetic extinction of non-modern human populations by anatomically modern humans. There is an alternative model called the multi-regional hypothesis that states that while humans may have originated in Africa, Homo erectus spread from Africa and evolved into modern-day humans. Aaliyah will be discussing push factors associated with the single origin theory. Alexis will be discussing pull factors associated with the single origin theory. Chloe will be discussing the genetic evidence that supports the theory. Ashley will be explaining three topics within the theory. Meghann will be explaining the opposing argument of the multi-regional hypothesis. What pushed humans out of Africa? Climate change. Because there were droughts, Homo sapiens didn't have reliable food sources and were almost driven to extinction because of starvation. The population was nearly extinct before they were pulled toward the greenery in Eurasia. According to the article, a climatic context for out of Africa migration, the rapid deterioration of climatic conditions between MIS 5A and MIS 4 is conceivably a compelling push promoting Homo sapiens to move into Eurasia. Climatic change also caused violent competition within the population due to food shortage that occurred.
What pulled humans into Africa? Pulled to South Africa as they see this as offering them economic opportunities that are not available in their home countries. These immigrants range from a large number of unskilled to a limited number of highly skilled workers. In the poor country, he knows what he currently receives and what he will probably receive over the remainder of his lifetime. Pull factors, on the other hand, involve the draw of new possibilities, demographic factors, such as a higher standard of living and rewards. Basically, the more favorable side of the things mentioned in the push factors section. However, push factors outweigh pull factors.
In regards to the genetic evidence of the out of Africa theory, there are three main points. First, studies of contemporary DNA, mitochondrial DNA specifically, show that humans are very homogeneous with little variation. These studies found that similarity between human populations contrast those of other close related species, especially chimpanzees, as they have more variation than we do. In addition to Africa, chimpanzees found in both Europe and Asia also show enormously greater variation within their population. Secondly, Africans have a higher variation pattern than other populations of the world. This supports the idea that they were the first modern humans. As detailed in the article, a study conducted by two researchers demonstrated that the highest level of genetic variation in mitochondrial DNA occurs in African populations. This implies that Homo sapiens came from Africa and were able to have a longer period of time to form genetic variation in comparison to other continents. In addition, the genetic distance between African populations and others suggests that Homo sapiens formed between 100,000 and 400,000 years ago in Africa. The low number of variation in modern humans implies that our origins reflect a small founding population for Homo sapiens. Finally, scientists recently succeeded in pulling DNA from several Neanderthal skeletons. Mitochondrial and nuclear DNA analysis showed that Neanderthal DNA is very different from those of modern-day humans. This difference shows that Neanderthal and African Homo sapien lineages have been separated for at least 400,000 years, giving even more evidence towards the out of Africa single origin theory.
The single origin theory, also known as the out of Africa theory, is the most known and accepted theory of the origin of modern humans, but it is not the only hypothesis that has been explored. Other theories combating it are the multi-regional theory and the assimilation theory. The multi-regional theory differs from the single origin theory in that it suggests that humans did evolve in separate areas, adapting to their environments with unique traits for their particular areas. Interbreeding between the individual groups prevented the evolution of different species from forming. The assimilation theory somewhat combines both of the previous theories, stating that while both occurred, humans originated from Africa but dispersed in varying degrees and intervals, having multiple different times when movement of large groups happened. Their earlier groups were able to mutate and adapt to fit their new environment, and then interbreeding between the new and old groups, as well as the groups apart from each other, allowed for the continuation of one species instead of the creation of more. The first graph shows the movement of the early modern humans and the multi-regional theory, showing that while they evolved from the same overspecies, as they spread throughout different Earths, they all evolved separately from each other, and the lines in between show the interbreeding between each. The second graph shows the single origin or the out of Africa theory that shows the evolution occurred in Africa and then the disbursement and splitting of the population happened after. The third chart shows the combination of both of these, showing that separate groups moved in separate different intervals, showing the first branching off and the second branching off, and both of these groups were able to migrate and evolve in different areas and probably performed an interbreeding in order to prevent different species from forming.
The multi-regional evolution is a hypothesis that addresses the pattern of Pleistocene evolution in hominids. Because the lineage has geographic variation, it is often explained as a subspecies prior to the recent population expansions that began about 50,000 years ago. This theory provides an alternative suggestion about humans originating from Africa, stating that humans evolved from another species called Homo erectus outside of Africa. Anatomical evidence would support this theory because the human fossil record indicated that at the furthest areas of Australia and Europe, there was a significant amount of evidence for dual ancestry of populations through most of the Pleistocene era. Both descendants were from either Africa or local archaic populations that interbred to create modern humans. In the picture on the side, it shows different groups that originated outside of Africa, supporting the multi-regional theory.
There is general argument that the human lineage evolved in Africa and then spread to southern Eurasia as Homo erectus. After Homo erectus spread out of Africa, the out of Africa replacement model hypothesized that populations in Africa, Europe, and Asia had little genetic contact and evolved independently, with anatomically modern human evolution only in Africa. The main push factors associated with the single origin theory was climate change. Because of climate change, there was a huge food shortage that brought on competitions throughout the population, pushing some Homo sapiens out of Africa.
The main pull factor that drew Homo sapiens into Africa was the belief that there were better economic opportunities and a better standard of living.
Genetic evidence points towards the validity of the single origin theory, as Africans have a larger genetic variation than modern humans.
Along with the single origin theory or the out of Africa theory, alternate arguments are the multi-regional and assimilation theories when attempting to recount the origin of the modern human.
The multi-regional theory strongly argues against the single origin theory by suggesting that humans originated from Homo erectus outside of Africa. Thank you for this presentation.